Hi, everyone. This is Sham, the MassSupport Network, here with your COVID-19 update for Friday, March 5th, 2021. In general this week, cases are still slightly down, but more or less plateauing. We saw 2.5 million new cases worldwide, which is about 200,000 fewer than the week before. That seems like a significant jump in the abstract, but with the type of numbers we're dealing with at that scale, it's not that much lower. 430,000 new cases in the United States, which is about 70,000 fewer. Here in Massachusetts, we saw just over 10,000 new cases, which is about 2,000 fewer than the week before. So in general, while these are slightly lower than they were at this time last week, the rates at which they are decreasing has come down significantly. In terms of deaths, these are also slightly down for the most part, worldwide seeing 58,000 new deaths, about 8,000 fewer, 12,000 new deaths in the United States, which is 3,000 fewer deaths than it was last week. Here in Massachusetts, we saw 318 new deaths from COVID-19, was actually about 26 more than the week before. But again, with the smaller numbers, you may see more wiggling there. These are still all decreases, but less than previous weeks as these trends are slightly leveling out. As we look at the numbers altogether, see these trends continue as there are decreases, but not as fast as there were before. Hospitalizations, though, do continue to decline fairly steadily. And we look at just the last couple of months, just this calendar year, we can see that there was that slight uptick last week. It looks like that was just a combination of increased testing. As you can see, testing jumped back up for a little while there, though it is trending downwards again at the moment. And also some delays in reporting from the storms across the country that sent the reporting of cases and deaths off for a while there. But as per usual, hospitalizations are usually the more accurate measure. If we pop back for a second and compare where we stand with past peaks, hospitalizations is significantly below either of the two previous peaks, which is great. Cases are now right about the level of the summer surge. Deaths, of course, are going to be much bigger than that, but slightly less than they were in the initial spring surge of last spring. So it is still some positive motion there. If we look at the cases, how the trends are moving, we are showing a significant decrease day by day there. As you can see, this goes back, remember we saw what basically the average change in the 7-day average was when it moved up and down there. And the last couple of months, it has been a steady decrease in the new cases every day with that brief spike there, but the fact that it has rebounded downwards again likely shows that that is not the beginning of a new surge, but just a correction for the increase in testing and those storm delays I was mentioning. We look at hospitalizations. The chart on the right shows where we were a month ago. The chart on the left shows where we are now. You don't have to actually look and read the numbers on this one. Just know that each color band is separated by about 100. And you'll notice on the right a month ago, there were 12 states that were reporting over 300 people per million hospitalized. Now there are no states in that branch. There were 17 states last month with 200 to 300 people per million hospitalized. Now there's only 4 in that bracket. So things are as steadily declining as the pandemic eases off our hospital system. As you can see here, looking at the percentage change in hospitalization, it has been a steady decrease week over week, month over month since the beginning of the year. The end of last year, there was an increase of just under 1% to a little over 1% every week or so. These last weeks, we have generally been over 1% decrease in hospitalizations per day. which is great. Obviously, of course, as we go along and these numbers get smaller, the same percentage is fewer people being discharged. That said, it is still fairly good. These are weekly numbers here, and they have the Wednesdays marked out in blue there. So as you can see, we had a peak of decreased hospitalizations for a while there, around 2.5 to just a 3% decrease per day, which is great. We're not quite at that level anymore, but we're still doing pretty well. That doesn't seem to really be a reversing of the trend just yet, which is excellent. In terms of deaths as well, it's just picked out the deaths on Thursdays as a comparison. And you can see we are at about less than half of where we were at the beginning of the year in terms of new deaths per day. Now, over 1,500 deaths per day is still quite a lot, of course. There's a lot of human life lost, but it is a significant reduction in the numbers we're seeing. And again, if you look across there, we are in comparable numbers right now to where things were in late or mid-May of last year as the first surge was tapering off. So let's move on to some developments with a lot of big news in the past week. First of all, Johnson & Johnson has had its vaccine approved. However, it does have a fairly small supply at this time, only a few million, which is not a lot on the national scale. However, these are single-dose vaccines, so these do go a little bit further, twice as far, in fact, as the 2-dose Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. So as supply ramps up on those, that should make vaccinating more people go a lot faster. Also big news on that front is that drug manufacturer Merck, a rival of Johnson & Johnson, has agreed to produce Johnson & Johnson's vaccine in their facilities. Now, their factories are not set up yet to make that vaccine, so it will be a month or two before those really start to kick in, but that does mean that as we get into late spring, we should have a significantly increased supply of vaccine, which is important because the P1 variant, first identified in Brazil, is showing evidence that it can reinfect people infected with the original vanilla COVID from last year. A number of people in Brazil who were infected last spring were reinfected with the P1 variant, and there have been some cases with the P1 here in the United States. This is why it's important to get the vaccine out as soon as possible. Speaking on that, President Biden has promised that there will be enough vaccine for everyone in the United States by the end of May. And this is great just to get that much supply out there. Of course, this does not mean that everyone will be vaccinated by the end of May, just that we will have the supply for it. We still need to get the infrastructure set up so that we can give lots of vaccine every day. We're currently giving an average of about 2 million vaccinations per day. And if you know how many people there are in the United States, you can do the math on that. We should see a significant uptick in vaccinations, though. However, the amount of vaccinations given every day is increasing. It is worth pointing out, though, that while we may have a vaccine, there may actually be shortages of syringes. Now, we probably won't see so much of that here in the United States, as the United States is one of the leading manufacturers of syringes, but other nations will likely, and some already are, seeing syringe shortages. So a vaccine is not very good without the tools to put it into someone's arm. So it's important. There is a lot of ramping up of the industry needed to make this. It is something that is a bit easier to do than to manufacture vaccines. You don't need quite the same type of specialized facility to make a specific vaccine. And there are some plants in the United States that make something around the order of 2,000 syringes per minute. So this is probably something that we won't see too much effects of, but we need to be aware of how the rest of the world is impacted by this and make sure that there is equitable distribution of syringes, vaccine distribution materials around the world as well to make sure the pandemic is stopped globally, not just here at home. And you can find our sources for all this at the COVID Tracking Project, which will be unfortunately ending its run very shortly. the New York Times, mass.gov, and CDC. For more from the MassSupport Network, you can find us on our website or on social media. And remember, wear your mask, wash your hands. We'll be there if you need us. Stay safe.